This is my 1972 Plymouth Barracuda. I've got a set of long tube headers on this thing, and they hang down very low on the car. You can see here how they hang down below the scrub line. And they're 15 years old, back 15, 20 years ago. They didn't make any shorty headers for this. Here's an example. On this old Goodyear advertisement, you can see how headers back that day hung down considerably lower than the scrub line. I've driven it for 10 years or more with these headers on it. The other night I was going out and there was a road that the state had scraped and the manhole covers were sticking up higher than usual. And I got trapped in heavy traffic. I hit a manhole cover and damaged one of the headers. Trying to avoid the next manhole cover, I got trapped in traffic and hit and damaged the other header. It totally wiped out the headers. So I'm going to take them off now and try and put a set of shorty headers on them. The headers on this car go down and wrap around the center link, and in order to get them on, you have to take the center link off, mount the headers, and then put the center link back through it. They're damaged anyway, so what I'm going to do is saw them in half and take the top half out and then pull the bottom half out from the bottom. Alright, I've disconnected the exhaust back here. Now this one actually was hanging down lower than what it is right now. When it got hit, it pushed it up maybe an inch or so. I don't think I really have to cut this one in half to get it out, but it's easier to do this than it is to raise the car up enough that I can tilt this thing at the right angle and work it clear of the ground in order to pull it out the top. So I'm just going to go ahead, and it's easy enough to cut in half. I'll just cut it in half. Looks like this one will have to go out through the bottom, but first I have to remove the oil filter for clearance. So that's my next step. This is the driver's side header. It cut into, and I took that out of the top. You can see where the damage was and the hole right there. Here's the passenger side header. That's the one I had to cut into and actually take it out the bottom. And you can see how it's damaged. There's a hole right there. So now I just have to get another set of exhaust manifolds or headers to go on it. I want to stay with headers. I have this set of 360 exhaust manifolds here. I opted for the shorty exhaust headers from TTI. These are a satin ceramic finish. These are the exhaust header pipes that's supposed to link directly up to the existing TTI exhaust system that I have on the car now. Should be a direct bolt-up project without any modifications or any difficulties. Amazing how easy that was. I have plenty of clearance on this side. Now I'll see if I can figure out which one's the driver's side header pipe and test fit that. I think I'm going to take those exhaust header pipes that go down to the exhaust system and paint those with the Eastwood satin silver paint. At this point, I've got the headers permanently mounted, and I've got the downpipes in place temporarily. They're just snugged up, they're not torqued down. The downpipes, it was easy enough to tell which one was left and which one was right. If it wasn't easy enough, they're stamped right in here somewhere that indicates the left and the driver's side and the passenger side. The original headers were spread further apart than these, and so what I'm going to have to do is shorten this H pipe by about 2.5 inches so that it'll close up enough to match up with these down pipes. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is clean this up and shorten this pipe and fit them together so they'll match, they'll fall in line with this and this. Then I'll be able to take the header pipes off, slide them into the exhaust pipe at the proper depth, which I've marked already right here and here, and then I'll be able to bolt them up to the headers, and that should wrap it up. As it turned out, I could not simply cut the crossover pipe and bring these two together. When I do that, the mufflers and the tailpipes come together at a bad angle, and they won't fit together. So what I had to do was, when I cut the crossover off, I had to cut the pipe here to get it to angle back, to bend it back this way and slide right in. So I've got a slash in the pipe right here, enough to flex the pipe. It's cut probably about more than 3/4 through. And what I'll do is tack weld that to hold the position. I had to cut some of the pipe off up here and weld the coupling on, so that's tacked in place in a few spots. So now that I've got this one fit up, it goes all the way back to the mufflers. I will take it all apart and weld this up good, and then reassemble it, seal off this this crossover. I may cut that crossover off a little shorter, or maybe even at an angle across here to seal it up. This pipe, they'll take some substantial modification of this pipe too. As you see, it's got too much bend in it. The pipe actually ends up into the other pipe, and it doesn't meet the muffler at all. What I can do is take this pipe, it's already bent here to go into the muffler at the right angle, so that it rides along the drive shaft in the same manner this one does. And what I can do is take this section of pipe out, probably just where the crossover is, take that out. That'll shorten this up, and then bring this, when this shortens up, this will come in maybe enough to line up with this pipe, so this one then would go take the same curve but not quite as severe. And I'll just do away with the crossover altogether. I've got the pipes mocked up. They're in the right position. And what I've done is gone back and tack weld all of the joints together to hold them in the right spot. And I'll just take it apart now and then put it on the bench and weld up all these seams. This crossover pipe, I'll probably cut that off a little shorter and put a plate over that opening and weld that up. That actually doesn't look too bad all through there. That might be good. I'll grind it down a little bit right here, and then test it with the air pressure plate. I took this wheelbarrow inner tube and sealed up this end of it, slipped this end over the pipe, and put it down with a clamp. And this way I'm able to soak test my welds and make sure that they're airtight. The other end of the pipe is capped off. It's not a perfect seal, but it doesn't have to be. It's got about 10 pounds of air on it. I'm reusing the original exhaust pipes. The clamps that I had on them before have compressed the female end of the pipe somewhat, so it's a little tight slipping over the exhaust header pipes. So what I'm using is this pipe expander to stretch the pipes back out to their original shape. Sometimes they'll have a ridge along here where a saddle clamp has put a ridge in, so what I'll do is use the expander, stretch it as far as I can go, and tap it along the ridge, and it makes the ridge come out and opens the pipe up to where it'll slip back over easily. You can also add heat to it. That'll help it relax a bit and expand better. I don't think I need to do it on this one. And sometimes I will put this in about halfway and expand half the pipe and then go in and expand the rest of it. That'll kind of make it easier. But I think it has probably reached the point that I want it to be. All of these pieces have to go back in sequence. The header pipe I already have bolted on. The exhaust pipes, once I weld them up, they go on next. Then the muffler, and then the tailpipe. I had to take the muffler and tailpipe out from underneath the car as one piece because I couldn't separate them in the car. This had a saddle clamp across here which had indented it and crimped it down tight to the tailpipe, and I couldn't get it out. I tried beating it out a little bit, but it wouldn't come out without damaging the muffler. And of course, I want to reuse the muffler. So what I did was I took a cutting tool and cut a slit in it here and here, and then got a thin screwdriver and stuck it in there and pried it open so that the screwdriver stuck it right in there and pried them open, and then ultimately was able to work the tailpipe out after I pried it open enough. Then what I did was I tapped them back down reasonably straight, and I took this piece of a piece of aluminum, brass would work better, and put it in here, and then put my exhaust pipe expander in, and then opened it up pretty tight. So now I've got aluminum wrapped around the exhaust pipe expander. Then I flipped it over here and I welded up. I hammered this back down tight and then welded up the seam that was in there. Now the aluminum, of course, kept the weld from sticking to my expander, and the aluminum kind of melts and gets a little crappy inside. So you can work it out though. Once you work it out, then you've got the inside to clean up. And I just took my die grinder with a cutoff wheel on it and went in there and just kind of cleaned this up good. Then I used a wire wheel on it and went inside and cleaned it all up good. Now the tailpipe will slide in and out of there really easy. Well, here they are in place. I've got them all bolted up. You go back and tie into the mufflers nice and straight, parallel to the drive shaft. You can see the patch where I've plugged the crossover pipe. The exhaust pipes are aluminized steel, and of course my welds aren't, so I put a little of that Eastwood high temp paint on them to maybe try and protect them a little bit from rust. Here we are, all finished up. Got some pretty decent ground clearance now. They're only about a ½ inch lower than the subframe rails, so I'm guessing that's about a 5-inch clearance. I measured the subframe rails, and they were 5½ inches. Modern cars are about 5½ inches as well.